Chapter 15 of the Madman and the Pirate. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. This reading by Lucy Burgoyne. The Madman and the Pirate by R. M. Ballantyne. Chapter 15. And now, once again, we find ourselves in the palm grove of Ratinga Island. It is a fine autumn afternoon. The air is still as regards motion, but thrilling with the melody of merry human voices as the natives labour in the fields, and alive with the twittering of birds as they make love, quarrel, and make it up again in the bushes. Now and then a hilarious laugh bursts from a group of children, or a hymn rises from some grateful heart, for as yet there is no secular music in Ratinga. In the lagoon lies a man of war, its sails neatly furled, and its trim rigging, dark hull, and taper spars perfectly reproduced in the clear water. As the sun sank lower towards the west, our friend Ebony might have been seen slowly climbing the side of one of the neighbouring hills, with Richard Rosco, the ex-pirate, on his back. "Set me down now, my friend," said Rosco. "You are far too good to me, and let me know what it is you have to say to me. You have quite roused my curiosity by your nods and mysterious manner. Out with it now, whatever it is." The negro had placed Rosco in such a position on a ledge of rock that he could see the lagoon and the ship at anchor. The ex-pirate had by that time recovered some of his former strength, and, although there rested on his countenance an air of profound sadness, there mingled with it a hue of returning health, which none who saw him land had expected to see again. But the care of gentle hands and the power of gladsome emotions had wrought miraculously on the man, body and soul. "I's heard Massa and Cap'n Fitzroy talking about you," said the negro, crossing his arms on his chest, and regarding his questioner with a somewhat quizzical expression. "Ah, I thought so. I am wanted, eh?" "Well, yis, you's wanted, but you's not getted yet, so far as I knows." "Ah, Ebony," returned Rosco, shaking his head, "I have long expected it, and now I am prepared to meet my deserved fate, like a man, I may humbly say, a Christian man, thanks to God the Saviour and Zephyr the instrument. But tell me, what did the commander of the man of war say?" "What did he say? Well, I's tell you. First he hoed into Massa's house and shook hands with Missis, also with Mrs. Warunga, what happened to be widow, and him so friendly dat he nigh shooked de bonnet off her head. Den dey talk 'bout good many tings, and after a while de cap'n turned full on Massa, and say, 'I's told Missa Zephyr dat you's got dat William Rosco, de pirate here.' Ho, you should have seen poor Massa's face, how it grow long. I most tink it also grow a little pale, and Missis she gives a squeak, what she couldn't help, and Betsy she give a groan, and jump up, slap on hers bonnet back to de front, and begin to clear out, but de captain jump up and stop her. 'Many apologies,' says de hypocrite, 'for stopping a lady, but I don't want any alarm given. You know dat de pirate's life and forfeited in his country, so of course you'll give him up.'" "And what said Zephyr to that?" asked Rosco eagerly. "I's just a goin' to tell yer, massa. You see, I's in de back kitchen, at de time and heard ebery word. Well, see, massa, awfully slow and unwilling like. I cannot deny that Rosco is in the island, but I do assure you, sir, that he is quite unable to do any furder mischief to anyone, for and massa stop all of a sudden. "Well," says the captain, "why you not go on? Has you a description of him?" he asked. "Oh yes," says the captain, drawing out a paper and reading it. "De berry ting, as like you it was as two peas, even to the small mole on side of youse nose. But it's saying nothing 'bout youse feet. Clearly he never heard of dat, and massa he noticed that, seems to me, for he says, 'Well, Captain Fitzgerald, it may be your duty to seize this pirate, and deliver him up to justice, but it's no duty of mine to help you.' "Oh, and as to dat," says the captain, "I'll easily find him without your assistance. I have a party of men with me, and no one knows or even suspects the reason of my visit. But all of you who now hear me must promise not to say a word about this matter till my search is over. I believe you to be an honourable Christian, Zeppa, who cannot break his word. May these ladies be relied on?" "Dey may," says massa, in a voice of woe dat a'most made me cry. So when I heard dat I tinks to myself, "Oh, you British hypocrite, you's not so clever as you tinks, for Ebony's got to wind'ards ob you." And wid dat I slips out of de back winder and run to yous cottage, and asked if you'd like to have a ride on my back as usual, and you say yes, and now you's here, and I daresay de captain looking for you. "It is very kind of you, Ebony," said Rosco, with a deep sigh and a shake of the head. "Very kind, both of you and Zeppa, but your efforts cannot now avail me. Just consider, if the description of me possessed by Captain Fitzgerald is as faithful and minute as you say, the mere absence of my feet could not deceive him. Besides, when I am found, if the commander of the man of war asks me my name, I will not deny it. I will give myself up." "But if you do dey will hang you," said Ebony in a somewhat exasperated tone. "Even so, it is my fate, and I deserved." "But it would be murder to hang an innocent man what's been reformed, and don't mean for to do no more mischief. Not only so, but can't." "I fear you won't get the broken law to look at it in that light, Ebony." "Broken law! What does I care for de broken law? But tell me, massa, have you make up you's mind to give yourself up?" "I have," returned Rosco sadly. "Quite sure and sartain?" "Quite," returned Rosco, with a faint smile at the poor negro's persistency. "Well den, you come and have a last ride on my back. Surely you no kin refuse so small a favour to dis yar black hoss what's carried you so often afore you die?" "Of course not, my poor fellow, but to what purpose? Of what use will it be to delay matters? It will only prolong the captain's search needlessly." "Oh, never mind. Dere's good lots of huts in de place to keep de hypocrite goin'. Plenty ob time for a last little ride. Besides, I want you to see a place I diskiver not long ago. Most curious place you never see." "Come along, then," said Rosco, thinking it right to humour one who had been more like a brother than a servant to him during his long illness. "Stoop down. Now, then, heave." In a twinkling Rosco was on the back of his black horse, which carried him a considerable distance in among the hills. "Ah, Ebony," said the rider at last, "I feel sure you are deceiving me, that you hope to conceal me here, but it is of no use, I tell you, for I won't remain concealed." No, massa, I not deceive you. I bring you here to show you de 'stronery place I have diskiver, and ask you what you tink of him." "Well, show it me quickly, and then let us hasten home." Without replying, the negro clambered up a somewhat steep and rugged path which brought them to the base of a low precipice which was partially fringed with bushes. Pushing one of these aside, he entered a small cavern not much larger than a sentry box, which seemed to have no outlet, but Ebony, placing his right foot on a projection of rock just large enough to receive it, raised himself upwards so as to place his left foot on another projection, which enabled him to get on what appeared to be a shelf of rock. Rising up, he entered another cavern. "A strange place truly, but very dark," said Rosco. "Does it extend far?" "You'll see, just now," muttered the negro, obtaining a light by means of flint and steel, with which he kindled a torch. "You see, I's been 'sploring here before, an' got tings ready." So saying, he carried Rosco through several winding passages, until he gained a cavern so large and high that the torch was unable to reveal either its extent or its roof. "Wonderful! Why did you not tell us of this place before, Ebony?" "'Cause I only just discover him, 'bout a week past. I tink him splendid place for hide our women and children in, if we's ever 'tacked by savages. See, I even make some few preparations, got straw in de corner for lie on. Soon get meat and drink, if him's required. Very suitable indeed, but if you have brought me here to hide, as I still suspect, my poor fellow, you have troubled yourself in vain, for my mind is made up." "Dat's berry sad, massa, berry sad," returned Ebony, with a deep sigh, "but you no object sit on de straw for a bit, and let me rest. Dere now, you's growin' heavier every day, massa. I stick de torch here for light. Look, here you see I have a few tings. Dis is one big of rope, wid a loop on him." "And what may that be for?" asked Rosco, with some curiosity. "For tie up our enemies, when we's catched 'em. Dis way, you understand." As he spoke, Ebony passed the loop over Rosco's shoulders, and drew it tight so as to render his arms powerless, and before the latter realized what he was about, his legs were also securely bound. "Surely you do not mean to keep me here by force?" cried Rosco angrily. "I's much afraid, massa, dat's 'zactly what I mean." "Come, come, Ebony, you have carried this jest far enough. Unbind me." "Berry sorry to oblige you, massa, but dat's impossible just now." "I command you, sir, to undo this rope," cried Rosco fiercely. "Dere's a good deal ob de ole ring about dat, sar, but you's not a pirate cap'n now, an' I ain't one ob de pirate crew." Rosco saw at once the absurdity of giving way to anger, and restrained himself. "But you cannot restrain my voice, Ebony," he continued, "and I promise you that I will shout till I am heard." "Shout away, massa, much as you please. Bust ye's lungs, if you like, for you're in de bowels ob de hill here." Rosco felt that he was in the negro's powers, and remained silent. "I's berry sorry to leave you tied up," said Ebony, rising to quit the place, "but when the men is foolish like little boys, dey must be treat de same. De straw will keep you comfor'ble. I daren't leave de torch, but I'll soon send you food by a sure messenger, and come back myself soon as ever I can." "Stay, Ebony. I'm at your mercy, and as no good can come of my remaining bound, I must give in. Will you unbind me if I promise to remain quiet?" "With pleasure," said the negro cheerfully, as his glistening teeth showed themselves. "You promise to wait here till I come for you?" "I promise." "And you promise not to shout?" "I do." In a moment the rope was cast off, and Rosco was free. Then Ebony, bidding him keep up his heart, glided out of the cavern and left him in profound darkness. Captain Fitzgerald searched the island, high and low, far and wide, without success, being guided during the search chiefly by Ebony. That wily negro, on returning to the village, found that the search had already begun. The captain had taken care that no one, save those to whom he had already spoken, should know what or who he was searching for, so that the pirate might not be prematurely alarmed. Great, therefore, was his surprise when he was accosted by the negro, and asked in a mysterious manner to step aside with him out of earshot of the sailors who assisted him. "What have you got to say to me, my man?" he asked, when they had gone a few yards into the palm grove. "You's lookin' for the pirate," said Ebony in a hoarse whisper, and with a superhumanly intelligent gaze. "Why, how came you to know that?" asked the captain, somewhat perplexed and thrown off his guard. "Ho, ho!" laughed Ebony in a subdued voice. "How's I comes to know that, eh? I come to knows many tings by putting dis and dat together. You's cap'n of man o' war. Well, you no come here for nothing. Well, Rosco, de pirate, de horrible scoundrel, hims live here. Of course, you come for look for him. Hofficers ob de British Navy got nothing else to do but catch and hang sich varmints, eh? Is right?" "Well, no," returned Captain Fitzgerald, laughing, "not altogether right, as to the duties of officers of the British Navy. However, you are right as to my object, and I see that this pirate is no friend of yours." "No friend! Oh, no, not at all. Him's far more nor dat. I love him as a brudder," said the negro with intense energy. Captain Fitzgerald laughed again, for he supposed that the negro spoke ironically, and Ebony extended his thick lips from ear to ear because he foresaw and intended that the captain would fall into that mistake. "Now you lose no time in search for him," said Ebony, "and dish yer nigger will show you de way." "Do, my fine fellow, and when we find him I'll not forget your services." "You's berry good, a'most too good," said Ebony, with an affectionate look at his new employer. So, as we have said, the village and island were searched high and low without success. At last, while the searching party was standing, baffled, on the shore farthest from the village, Captain Fitzgerald stopped abruptly, and looking Zeppa in the face, exclaimed, "Strange, is it not? And the island so small comparatively?" "Quite unaccountable," answered Zeppa, who, with his son, had at last joined in the search out of sheer anxiety as to Rosco's fate. "Most perplexing," said Orlando. "Most amazing," murmured Ebony, with a look of disappointment that baffles description. Suddenly the negro pointed to the beach, exclaiming, "Oh, I knows it now. Look dere. You see two small canoes? Dere were t'ree canoes dere yesterday. De tide one of 'em. Dere now. Look!" They all looked eagerly at the horizon, where a tiny speck was seen. It might have been a gull or an albatross. "Impossible!" said Zephyr. "Where could he hope to escape to in that direction? No island within 1,000 miles." "A desperate man does anything, massa." "Well, I shall soon find out, for the wind blows in that direction," said the captain, wheeling about and returning to his ship. Soon the sails were spread, the anchor weighed, the coral reef passed, and the good ship was leaping merrily over the sea in pursuit of the pirate, while Ebony was seated on the straw beside Rosco, expanding his mouth to an extent that it had never reached before, and causing the cabin to ring with uproarious laughter. Chapter 15